You're such an asshole.
All right, so the client, he had a question that was economic and philosophical. He says, would it be worth to pay it, or should I get it out of your books? I said, nah, if it's in my, you wouldn't need to get it. It's in my books. So then he asked me this. He said, okay, good to know. Thanks for the honesty. Okay, here's a request. What movies and TV shows would you recommend to help a guy develop a guy's personality? What men, either real or fictional, are worth paying attention to if a young man wants to model his behavior after an older man? So I'm going to start with the men, and I'm just going to kind of go through some movies. Obviously, the men who starred in these movies, the fictional characters, and there'll be some real ones as well. And I'll have to kind of go through like the movies, but I'll tell you right now, all the old classic World War II movies, Hogan's Heroes, all the more famous spaghetti westerns, including Duck You Sucker, which is a relatively unknown one. Those are all good. And then I'd say some of the James Bond movies are kind of, obviously Sean Connery. Let's just throw that one in there as James Bond, but well, as a man in real life too. But here is the ones that came to mind. And if I had unlimited time, I'd do what? Come on. Oh God. So, and we will save the best for last, and I'll be surprised if anyone can guess who I'll have at a real person at the end. All right. So first, number one, Tony Stark, played by Robert Downey Jr. The character. I like Robert Downey Jr., but it would be the character Tony Stark. That is probably the one I ended up becoming closest like, not to brag, but that's who I ended up, and I kind of like the most. He doesn't care. Now, of course, he has billions of dollars, but super intelligent, self-employed, leader, answers to no one. And the reason he's a leader is because he makes it so he doesn't need anybody. He gets by on his intelligence. He thinks independently, critically, and that's why he's the one. And the other thing, and this is just, there's an element of a Peggy Sue or Mary Sue where he's just that smart, and he inherited Stark Enterprises from his father. All right, that's the movie. You're going to have to make sure that your robot suit works like his did. And when people tried to copy it, it didn't work. My phone is being extra special Kuantaha here right now. This is where I have my note. So Tony Stark in all the movies except what's it called? Iron Man 3, which doesn't exist. That movie never happened. And if you think, oh, you mean where he's sensitive and kind and everything? And no, I do not mean that. I absolutely do not mean that. All right. Then a movie, obviously, I put it on the front, is The Guns of Navarone. There you have David Niven, Gregory Peck, and Anthony Quinn. Niven is kind of a snivelly, so I don't have him as some guy that I would look up. His character, anyway, of course. But Mallory and Andrea Stavru, those are the characters that Gregory Peck and Anthony Quinn play, and those guys' characters are badass. That movie alone is worth learning about sacrifice, being a man. Not necessarily in today's world, but what I would say is man, what you should aim for. And one of the greatest scenes in cinema is where he's dressing down David Niven, like, well, son, your bystanding days are over. And then what I like about Anthony Quinn's character in that movie, so now the Gregory Peck's character has to lead reluctantly, and he gets sick and tired of adhering to morals and having his hands tied behind his back. He's like, you're going to do it my way now, MRFers. But Anthony Quinn's character, he is ultimately practical, ultimately utilitarian. Somebody gets injured, he's like, that guy's dead, leave him. Well, don't you have no salt? No, he doesn't. He's like, no, he is going to compromise the mission. We need to leave him here now. Yeah, he is all calculating. And so that's why I really like Anthony Quinn's character. And just so you know, these guys in real life weren't exactly schleps either. I mean, they're not modern day actors. These, Anthony Quinn, he came from Mexico, and no, he's Mexican. I was confusing him with Ricardo Montalban. Maybe Anthony Quinn, he is Mexican descent, but Anthony Quinn had a hell of an acting career. But anyway, so his character, Andreas Stavru, of which is part of a series of books, Alistair MacLean, you'd like that character in fiction is someone you definitely want to get familiar with. Flash from Justice League Unlimited. I liked him because he didn't take things seriously. He was always trying to mac on Wonder Woman, and he was kind of that annoying guy, but he was good at heart. And then when Lex Luthor didn't really necessarily kill him, but everyone thought he did, Superman got pissed. The reason why is because, yeah, he was annoying, but he was the guy that deep down inside he liked people, and he was a little bit endearing and charming with an element of annoying. And if you could pull that off, to just be that, not a thorn in anybody's side, but to be that, like the older brother who would pick on you and put the finger on, don't touch me, and put the finger right in your eye, but you wouldn't touch it. I'm not touching you. I'm not, you need to move it. Oh, hang on. You do that. You ever do that? You never done that one? You gotta do that to your siblings. And he was, he'd always get shot down by Wonder Woman, and well, he would hit on any girl, but he was kind of the ladies' man, and he'd always get shot down and wouldn't take it too seriously. So I kind of like Flash. Les Grossman. Not only because it's funny, it's Tom Cruise, but that guy is mercenary. You'll notice one thing. Do you think he cares about women? Les Grossman only cares about getting his money and making the movie. And he will have people punched, and he, again, kind of Machiavellian like Andreas Stavru. But what I just, not just is he funny, but he doesn't care. And the speech he gives, and he's honest. You want me to give up my friend, one of my best friends for 15 years, for a G5 airplane and some money? Yes. A G5 airplane? Yes. And lots of money. Playa. I should add it in here. Probably some maybe everyone's more familiar with. What I like about Les Grossman is he's like Charles Montgomery Burns, who should also be probably in this list, because Charles Montgomery Burns doesn't know he's evil. He's just he is so into his world and himself. He doesn't understand any social grace. And so there's a bit of honesty. I think, Smithers, there are too many fat children in this park. And in the olden days, that was funny because there weren't that many fat children in parks. Now you're all a bunch of fat, disgusting American slobs to be ashamed of yourselves if you had souls and the capability for shame, which you don't. So you're all just a bunch of fat NPCs. Anyway, that's why I like Les Grossman, is because kind of like Charles Montgomery Burns, he's just making for the money. And I don't think he's kind of aware of whether or not that hurts people. And maybe Les did know, but I like how Les Grossman is. I do not have time. Les Grossman had opportunity cost. Do not waste Les Grossman's time. Riggs, Mel Gibson's character in Lethal Weapon 1, where if it may have been a while since the guys all saw it because it's an older movie, he outdoes suicide. He winds up, like, his wife is dead, and that's the opening scene. It's Christmas time. He's in his trailer, and he contemplates pulling a bullet in his head, and he doesn't. And he becomes a real man. And there will be a time, I can almost guarantee, in every one of your lives, you're going to really contemplate, more so now than ever. Maybe 20, 30, 40 years ago, certainly 50, 60, 70 years ago, I don't think so. Now, I won't lie, guys. You got nothing. This is why when I put together this list, it wasn't about men that are going to impress women. You asked, what would it be like to be a cooler, older man? These are the cooler, older men. These men would never off themselves. And that's what I really liked about Riggs and Lethal Weapon, is he lost it all. He lost his wife, and he still pushed through it. That was real dark. You know, you're going to laugh at this. You know why I keep doing it? Because of the job, which is, of course, part of the movie. But it's a heart tugger in the opening where he just like, oh, see you tomorrow. But yeah, but you guys won't even lose your wife because you won't have one. So, but you're gonna have your demons. Oh, some of you get divorced, some of you get married, some of you might even unfortunately lose your wife, to death. And you're gonna have to get through it. I think that's really the sign of a man who loses everything. You quote unquote get zeroed out, and then you're like, no, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna get, and you do, and then you find that that's when you really go from just an NPC guy with okay, execute protocol, get college degree, fine girl, get married, op, and you're like, oh, I'm here. That's where you Walter White up. What am I gonna do? I don't know how many months he had to live or whatever, but then you transform into your version of Walter White, and you make a mark. All right, now Cary Grant, I'm just saying Cary Grant in general because he played the same guy the entire time. And I was not necessarily all that much to look up to him in terms of masculinity. He certainly was a masculine man, very good-looking man, but he was polished, just polished. I guess you could insert Sean Connery here for James Bond or pretty much one of the old, except for Grumpy, the 7 James Bonds. We just had Grumpy, okay? Not really. Sean Connery was his own man, of course, but I would say Cary Grant, you could either just the way he carries himself and talks, and you don't want to fully plagiarize his lines. You could if you wanted to. No one's going to really remember them, but just the way he's he's not overly smooth talking Brad Pitt. And if you see, he's very clever and witty and sharp. Now, he's written that way. Of course, he's written that way. I don't know how Cary Grant was in the real world. Archibald Leach, by the way. But the character he portrays in the movies, he's always dapper. He's always refined and very, of course, he's incredibly handsome. Probably the most handsome man ever. But oh, really? Oh, yes. Well, let's go visit mother. And he just had this, and it was probably part of his real world personality too. But just an element of what I can't even put my finger on it, but he wouldn't get too angry. There was no fight scenes with Cary Grant in it. And he'd always just maintain his cool and calm, but he was, again, written to be incredibly quick on his feet. And his girl Friday, that's always see, go over here now. Whoa, look at that now. Hey, whoa, damn. Oh, look at those pants. It was very quick. But you would do well to watch North by Northwest, Father Goose, anything with some of his older stuff, Bringing Up Baby. Well, hello, Catherine. So just that kind of and have it rub off on you. Oh, okay. It wouldn't be bad if you had a Grantism here or there. Same thing, Humphrey Bogart. He's a little more stoic, a little more cold and but played the same guy. And if you watch Casablanca, Humphrey Bogart didn't come up with those lines. But, and there's no other way to tell you this, guys, but to be able to be funny and quick on your feet, I don't know how to get there. I got there. I don't know how, but it did not hurt that I watched the Jimmy Stewarts or the Cary Grants or Humphrey Bogart. And sometimes, sometimes you'll be in a situation and the line from some 1930s movie, use it because these girls don't know. They don't know Destination Tokyo. They don't know Operation Petticoat. They don't even know who Cary Grant is. They're like, oh, the guy with the show that they told me. They're like, oh. Oh, he's getting open-minded, I see. You guys got to see Casablanca. There's a movie. Add Casablanca to your list because you got to see that. I would also add Tropic Thunder because it's a great movie, but there you see a bunch of guys. That's just a good guy flick. It's pretty good. Another character, Captain Jack Sparrow. What I like about him, aside from he's goofy and everything, and Johnny Depp played him brilliantly well, he hides his power level. That is a good thing to do. And the man is incredibly brilliant. And the reason he's brilliant is not just because he probably had natural intelligence, but he did not comply or obey or work within the box that society expected him to. And that's how, with his cunning and guile, the way he stole the Dauntless, I believe. He stole the ship from the British Empire with two people. Of course, scripted that way. All right. But people do not like, this is either sheer madness or brilliance. He says, be amazed how often those two coincide, which indicates he knew this stuff before. He knew how smart he was. But if you see him as all like, oh, it's just a drunk, well, your eyes are going to pass over him. And that's always good. Always good. Hide your power level. Don't tell girls how much money you have. When you're in business, I mean, a good rule, and you guys know I've talked about this in like, well, how do I make friends? How do I whatever? You shut up. You shut up and you ask everybody about themselves and you don't offer anything about yourself. And they will think you're an amazing guy, ironically not knowing one damn thing about you. And some of that is displayed or exhibited in Captain Jack Sparrow, where, you know, they all think he's an idiot. Like, even though they know better, they should know better. You know, when he comes back after they left him on the beach, like, impossible, improbable, you know, and it's just like, they can't believe it. It's like they keep underestimating him. And when they're underestimated, you can get away with more. Another thing about Captain Jack Sparrow is he's theatrical. A little bit of theatrics, which you cannot fake. It has to become part of your personality. But, you know, I'll give you an example here. I don't really necessarily do it on purpose, but I'll always come in with some kind of thing of what is immediately pissing me off at that moment, which there's a never-ending list of. And I'll go through it, blah, 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 blah. And what's great, like, I'll give you another better way to highlight this. Elkins is going to start his own podcast. I'm going to hold him to it. And like anyone else, I necessarily, well, what do I talk about? No, doesn't matter. Don't worry about what you're going to talk about. Just talk about what you're going to talk about. What comes to mind? What do you want to talk about? And how that real-time information comes in that you're talking about it, your body, your brain, not body, but your mind, has evolved over the years that you will put your own special spin and flavor and color on that information. And that is way more entertaining and interesting than you like. You couldn't have anyone read. Chad could read a script. You could read a script. There's a guy, Thinking Ape recommended him. Pete, the guy you didn't invite to social activities. And I was just listening to him. I downloaded some of it, converted to MP3. I'm like, this guy's really good. And I noticed he's not taking any breaths. He's speaking flawlessly. He's making incredible points. There's no ums and hms and hums. And I watched him. You know, like, he's reading. He's reading a script. He's doing it very well. Rush Limbaugh would do it to the point you could not tell he was reading a script, that it was a monologue, a scripted reading. This kid was good. Now, Rush did it live. That's the other thing. Rush was you could barely pick it up when he was doing it. But this kid, he's good. And wait, his eyes are looking, yep, he's reading. And you will get a person's character, personality, and theatrics, entertainment, in how that person is trained to deliver, but that is not as close to that person's personality or psychology or persona as if you got to do it real time. So as things come in, perfect example, you know, where I sing the songs or whatever, hey, look at this microphone. It was a bastard. And here she's calling. Didn't ask for you to call. It's not that late. Why are you calling me? See, that's all natural. And that's what I liked about Captain Jack Sparrow. He although he was acting, it was a script. It was his fluid reactions to that with theatrics. So when he's arguing with people, like, he's like, please move, you know, that kind of thing. And people are like, oh, that's, you know. So it's not necessarily masculine, but it's going to help you out. Captain Malcolm Reynolds from Firefly. He again trained to be, the actor had to portray, Nathan Fillion had to portray a Southern talking gentleman in a post-war space show. I think why I was like, okay, Spike Spiegel or Malcolm Reynolds, simply because he had principles. I do the job and I get paid. He would go after the bad guys, but he just didn't lose his cool and made reason. But then was, again, you could see the theatrics. I swear by my pretty blue bonnet, I will end you. If you could get to that level in real life without rehearsing, you're doing pretty good. And so, I liked Captain Malcolm Reynolds a little bit younger. Then the number one guy, real and portrayed, Ronald Spears. If you take everyone here, get rid of them. If you could pull off Ronald Spears, that's about as manly as you can get. You had to see Band of Brothers to see what the guy did. But the guy I don't know if he had a death wish, but he was deep. He was like, Blythe, you're already dead. And until you realize that you will not be able to function as a soldier. And you will get to the point that you will be like, oh, once I no longer care about life, now I can be free. Now I can function in the real world. Now, of course, they were at a time of war. But then all the stuff Spears did. And here's where you want to aim to be Spears in somewhat of the real world. When crap was going south, who'd they call on? They call on Spears. Why? And you want to be that guy where you're like, Spears, get in here. And you don't have to worry about it because he's got it covered. You want to be that guy. Now, not all of society is going to let you be that guy, but you yourself got to be that guy. So, Frank, we need you to fix the motorcycle or the engine. You fix it. Oh, we need you to do this. You're the reliable guy. Now, that may not be rewarded, certainly not in dating nowadays. And I'll tell you this, if you're the guy they need in an emergency, it's not that you have power, but you may even want to say, why would I help you? Band of Brothers, it was your family. You wanted to help them. You want to kill the Nazis. That was, it was moral, just, and that was the whole point of the show. These are your family, your new family. But it's good to be the most reliable guy because you got your ducks in order and you position yourself where and you're cold and calculating. You don't care. You gun down those prisoners. Cigarette. Then the lazy, stupid people. Oh, crap didn't work out like we hoped it would. We thought just things. What do we do? Oh. You're asking me now? Oh, And that's where profit comes in. Great opportunity for profit. Yeah, I'll lead your division, lead this company out of bankruptcy. You're going to do exactly as I say, and you're going to pay me all this money. And so it's a rare situation, but man, when the bleep hits the fan, they want that guy. And you want a Ronald Spears, but just to be that badass and that brave and not to be that fearless. Holy cow. I'd be Ronald Spears, man. That'd be great. Movies. I would normally say Die Hard at this point, but it's to be men and practical. Die Hard, unfortunately, a lot of these movies, as they were in the past, largely made, was to save the girl or fall in love or something like. And I hate to say it, that's not going to be a practical skill. It'll also be an unanswered, unrewarded skill. So these are guys in some movies I mentioned where you would become a man. Other movies that I think Lord of the Rings would be a good one. The whole series. Sacrifice, death, doing the right thing. Not too much romantic crap in there. 12 O'Clock High. That's a must movie. Watch 12 O'Clock High. Total maximum effort. People are cracking That also has Gregory Peck in it. But that's a good one. I also like A Bridge Too Far. You can watch all the World War II movies, but you have to watch A Bridge Too Far because the good guys lose. And, it's not as like, oh, yay, we won. Oh, America. And Britain. And Russia. That's kind of, oh, America, we're great. And then Russia has like 10 times the amount of people there. But A Bridge Too Far would be good. And then I know it's going to be weird now. Robotech, the third generation, Scott Bernard would be a character to watch, but it would almost be too young and cartoonish. And I don't want to throw it in like, you got to do what's right. He's by himself. He's the last guy to make it on the Mars Reinvasion Force. And he's got to last until Jupiter makes it. Which, when you're a kid, you think, oh, Jupiter, we colonized Jupiter. It's like, no, that's a gas planet. There's not a place to land. But he's got to hold off on his own, and he takes the war to the alien invaders on his own, one-man army, because he's got nothing else. He loses his fiancée on re-entry, by the way. So, yeah, there you go. All right, real quick, if there's any super chats, then I gotta go. Yeah, you're right. Hell of a thing when Spock died at the end of Star Trek 2. Yep. Cab Ragoon Cabulous, $20 even, Cap. Much appreciation. I agree to be the man a wife wishes to lose. Learn what these guys tell you. Find a couple, take a few losses, then be a guy who don't give a bleep, but with a heart. Then, my friends, be James Bond. I'll just look. It's very akin to what Rich Cooper and I say, and I think it is you don't even factor in, like, how do I get girls? How do I be cool like whoever? James Bond in that regard, but I'm trying to think of like some schmaltzy character in the 80s and 90s that girls just swooned over. Like, don't even waste your time with that. Go become your own guy. If a girl comes along, cool. But if you want, at least when you die, you're like, no, I was a real man. Oh, you'll have screwed up. You'll have not been a real man. But when you're like, no, I did pretty darn good. I did all right. And hopefully a girl will like, oh, wow, that's a real man. He did a real thing. But yeah, you don't pursue any of, like I said with Les Grossman, you're not there to get girls. Pretty much all those movies, girls were not a factor. Ronald Spears didn't think, well, how do I get chicks? This would be cool when I smoke my cigarettes and I go back and tell girls what I did. That had nothing to do with it. It was much more larger and loftier purposes. Capricorn Cabulous again, $5 to be that guy in dating a few years ago, but now, yes, a cigarette. Right, you're not. This has nothing to do. Achilles Heroes is a good one, but it's a comedy. There's not really a lot of really, serious masculine things going on there. It's a great movie. It's one of my favorites, but this isn't letting me do what I wanted to do. I hope no one else made any more super chats. Cliffhanger 10 p.m. All right, that's it. We'll see you guys later. Toodles.